Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of the Quantum Experience. Thrilled this week to be joined by Carsten Polenz, who is the head of quantum technologies at SAP. Carsten, thank you very much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Cool. So I thought we'd just go straight into it. So usually with all the other ones that I've done, we just have a short introduction. So tell us about you and what's your background?
So thanks very much for inviting me to that podcast session, Matthew. It's really a pleasure to be here and to discuss a little bit about my job, specifically about our company and how we perceive quantum as part of our strategy, as part of our products, and as part of how we see the industry will evolve. So for myself, I've been with SAP now for 25 years. Before that, I studied physics. I worked for 4 years in sustainability studies at the in Germany really well-known institute, which is called Wuppertal Institute for Climate, Environment and Energy. I did a PhD in economics out of that work, so I'm a little bit I collected my my degrees in some way and didn't go the straight way. So I'm 25 years at SAP with work in development support, corporate strategy. I led several development departments responsible for delivery, and we'll go into that later on, I think. For example, for supply chain management or manufacturing solutions. And since 9 years, I'm working in the, let's say, in the intersection between politics, industry, and research, supporting my executive board members in their interactions with governments on the local, regional, federal level, so with the Bundesregierung, or even on the European Union level. And out of that, it emerged approximately 3 years ago, the work on quantum computing specifically and quantum technologies. And so I had all the activities at SAP currently, to some degree in a virtual way. Let's call it like this. But we'll come to that later.
Yeah, that's quite a non-linear rise. That's pretty interesting.
It's more like I walked through my career across a large meadow and picked up all the interesting flowers which are there and have like a bouquet of different colors which suit me.
And you're a poet as well. That was great. Cool. So maybe tell us about your current activities.
So my current activities is to organize, coordinate, drive, and ultimately get some progress on how we as Europe's largest enterprise or even world's largest enterprise software company and that space of quantum computing mainly. It's not so much about other technologies like sensing and computing. I subsume all the quantum safe activities, post-quantum cryptography, etc., underneath quantum computing in our perspective. While I know that in other circles it's differently. So it's basically we're spread with our efforts into 2 areas. Basically, that's research on the one hand side, which is pretty normal for industry companies who are not providers of quantum technologies in the first place. But on the second hand, we do that already in development. And for those who are not in the software industry or even the enterprise software industry, development is much more like the shop floor of our company and our value chain. So like for a BMW, it would be a shop floor for manufacturing a car. So it's pretty close to the real product, what we already do. And that's I coordinate with respect with a mandate from our executive board to align that and drive that forward so that we'll get an interplay between research and basically the shop floor.
Great. That's an interesting pursuit. I was also keen to make everybody aware that you have an article series on LinkedIn called The Thought Experiment. I've been a keen follower, and I have been reading them, and they're great. So if you haven't seen them, if you're watching this and you haven't read them, please give them a read. They're all on your page, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah. Or, you mentioned in your introduction that your background, your master's in physics. So, what was your first exposure to quantum technology or quantum physics?
Well, the first exposure was basically, let's say, it was still in school because we managed somehow to reach the Schrödinger equation during the last year at school, before doing the A levels, which was, let's say, the first hint that there's something weird going on. And I guess ultimately that led me to choosing between, German engineering and physics, doing physics really. Um, Really, my first exposure was at the usual courses you have, the lectures you have in quantum physics, which is pretty mathematical and extensive in Germany.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure to read quantum or to listen to quantum mechanics again when I was in Edinburgh at the University of Edinburgh. So I did a round in Edinburgh, which was really a great time.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that. And it gave me a little bit of a different kind of academic approach to teaching subjects because there's a difference between the UK and in Germany, what it is like. So that was my first exposure. And ultimately, with respect to the new technologies, and I studied, in the mid of the 90s, so I'm rather an old fox rather than a young person. It was still the first exposure I got to these technologies of the second generation, quantum technologies of the second generation we talked about today, was in Germany, you have to do some kind of a deep dive, what they call seminar, which is like half a year or a term where everybody is presenting a specific topics. And I had the pleasure to present the Einstein-Rosen-Podolsky experiment in that series. So that's where I got interested into it and interested into that new kind of quantum mechanics, so not the old things which I teach, but which are rather new to it. So that was my first exposure, and then I drifted off completely from quantum mechanics. And actually, I came back 3 years ago, 3 to 4 years ago, when I was, gathered that from my political work. I gathered that this is a topic, and then I spent carved time out of my schedule in order to reread Feynman's quantum mechanics lectures and the Feynman lectures, and pick up out of my old Dirac books, etc., in order to immerse myself. And so I'm a bit of a self-learner of the last 3 to 4 years with quantum mechanics and quantum technologies.
Great. Thank you. It's all come full circle, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. This next question, and this is the question that we get most messages about from people who are looking to enter the industry. And so, are there any mistakes that you've made during your career that was a big learning experience for you?
Yeah, while preparing for that podcast, I was thinking about this question because you were nice enough to send at least that question to me
Yeah.
beforehand in order to prepare a little bit. And thinking about that, I would say I didn't leave the company early enough. 25 years at one company is pretty long.
Yeah.
And the background is that given the situation in Germany and specifically physics as a degree, when I entered the company, it was still very, very difficult to get a position and to get a job with that degree. So that makes oneself hesitant. And I encourage everybody to be bolder, to think about what they can, what their skills are, and to be proactive in sorting out new things. I had the great luck, and that was maybe a little bit of some kind of sweet poison to me, that I moved within the company from one job to the other again and again. which is, I basically termed it the other way around and coined it like, well, I did like 15 jobs and job changes in one company, which makes it fun as well. But I definitely encourage everybody, do your job, but then go out, see a different mindset, see a different corporate DNA or company DNA, and then pick what's right in your right situation. That would be my advice.
I really like that, Carsten, and it's interesting that a couple of things that you've said on this call allude to your own personal development. So whether it be changing jobs and finding something new or picking up new skills, you also said that you're self-learning, quantum computing, and rereading Feynman's lectures or rewatching Feynman's lectures. So is that something that you put a big emphasis on in
Yeah.
your current role? And it's
Yeah.
something, okay. Is that
It's not everybody's DNA. We
sure?
have to be sure about that. But I personally think expose yourself again and again from time to time. To constantly go out of your own comfort zone, to stretch yourself. That's things. And the best thing is if you change jobs, whether it's within your company or whether it's outside your company, change jobs, become a learner again.
Yeah.
And you never know when things fall in place. And that's what I learned. Pick up the things you're really interested in. And somehow the universe will later on find a way and give you the right signs where it fits together. This is my lesson of my career and my life in a corporate environment or even in a business environment.
Yeah, that's great. I like it. I think that's top advice. Okay,
Who
so
had ever thought that I would do quantum mechanics again and reread Feynman after
yeah,
30 years? Never. No one.
yeah,
And the funny thing is, just an example, anecdote to that. I just had a discussion yesterday with one of my team members, and I said, my master thesis I did on designing chips, FPGAs, ASICs for LHCb, so the Large Hadron Collider, the LHCb experiment. And at that point in time, I thought, doing chip design is really a good profession in order to get a job. I never got a job. I went into sustainability. But today, if I have to explain to an executive board member who has a business degree the difference between classical computing and quantum computing and what's so fundamentally different, I can really go down into that down that lane. And even there, this experience and knowledge and skills help me significantly, which is, I've never thought about that 30 years ago.
yeah. And I guess if you're constantly adding to your own skill set, then it's all for the greater good, I guess. And
Yeah.